Yate, a greeting in Navajo. Today we're talking about the Dene dolls, the Navajo dolls. The Apache also used the word ate in greeting, and they also called themselves Dene, which means the people. The early Navajo dolls came out in the 1800s. That's been documented. Dolls have always been part of the Navajo culture. So there were dolls that were before, but these dolls are dolls that were made for trade. They help to feed the families and supplement the income. The early dolls were hand done, they're all handmade, and a lot of the dolls have layers of clothes. Like this one is wrapped. They have underwear, and then they all have different shoes or boots. And then also decorated is the jewelry, which was, the beads. And they used little metal on the belts and on like some of the little decoration to represent the jewelry. And they used scrap fabrics that were used for their own clothing or the clothing that they made for family members. The faces were hand painted with a paint or an ink of some sort, and they're just basically hand drawn. Now, I have seen some that were made with embroidered. They embroidered some, but some people didn't do all the embroidery. They just used what they had, and the detail was uh, not as deep as some have done. You can see their faces are very simple, but they are expressful. They give you the basic. Now, this particular hair is not human hair, but there have been some dolls that have turned up that they used human hair, and those are some of the older dolls. Now, these dolls were not just sold for trade. The children played with these dolls also, and there are different Navajo dolls that are represented um, in these dolls, and you can see by the change of the fabrics, how the fabrics have changed over a period of time. So these would have been some of the earlier dolls, and you can tell that by the prints of the fabric. They're more basic or simple, and they used whatever scraps they had, even if it came in a flour sack or sugar sack or anything like that. Um, the dresses represented when the Wasicha, the white women, came over, and they wore these long gowns, and they tried to make them look like that, and they didn't use. They used, like I said, whatever fabrics they had. Later on, they started using the velvets and stuff when the velvets started coming in. And these particular dolls do have the velvet on the top, but the skirts were also velvet later on. And that's the style that the Navajo did. So moving on to this doll here, this one is more elaborate. It's more beaded. Even though the face is still painted and the hair texture is still that woolly kind of hair, there's more details in her dress. Like she has the trims and stuff, and then she has the embroidered laces that come, And these are later ones. So the later ones is when they had all those kind of trims, and they got whatever that was available in the marketplace at the time. And some of the women would do trading with them. They would trade uh, different fabrics and things and beads and stuff like that. And this is a even later version of one of the dolls. And see, her dress is completely velvet, and it's detailed. It has the extra layers of decoration on it, and she's got an underskirt here, and she has also moccasins that they wore that represented the shoes that they wore. And look, she's got strawberry undies. So it's interesting to see the different artists put their take on the outfits, because like this one is decorated with the beads and stuff up here, and this one is decorated like this. So it has like a little variation. They do have both have necklaces that are very similar, and it's very similar in the style of what the woman wore back in those days, with the matching earrings. And later on they went into wearing metal conch belts and um, the squash blossom necklaces, and that came in a little bit later. So moving on to here, this is another older one. Now some of these beads over the period of years have fallen off. You can see her hot. She obviously got wet, and the ink kind of faded on her eyes and stuff. But she's also detailed with the trim and velvet dress. And then she's got her moccasins, and her moccasins have bead on them too. And she's got underneath that here. Now, not only did they make the women, they also made the men. So there were men that were represented, and children and babies. They had uh, women who were weaving rugs, and she, when they represented on the dolls, she always had her baby on the side. So the baby was wrapped up in a either a basket or or cradle board type of a bed, and the baby would be wrapped up in a blanket, and the baby would be next to mom as she was weaving the rugs. Now I do have a couple of those dolls that are weaving the rugs, but they're packed away right now. So okay, now I want to show you the male doll. The male dolls were very decorative too. So the men's wore um, the same type of velvety shirts with a plainer pants, and there was a lot of detail put into the like decoration in the trim. So they got the beads and the jewelry, and then the headpiece. And in the style of the Navajo, they would tie their hair up, and most of the time it was used with cloth, and they would tie the back part of the bun with the cloth, and they would have their little bag with them. So in this particular one, he was made with like a pleather kind of hands, where a lot of the women one were their hands were just the same way, and in the early ones, some of them didn't even have hands. They just had like little, um, little a little velvet or something like that. And they would make couples when they would sell them. They would sell a man and a woman together, and you could buy them, and a lot of tourists brought them and have them in their collections. And some people have really large, I've seen really, really large collections of the Navajo dolls. And these dolls are very appealing because they're handmade, and they were made with a lot of loving care. And like I was saying, the most important thing was it helped the families. It helped put food on the table, and that was a very important thing to do. And they sold their arts and trade. There's another old one, and you could tell she's really old. She lost some of her beading, but she's got the same painted face and the hair that's like like kind of a woolly hair. And then her dress also does have some of that rick-rack, they call it, trim. And her hands are like a leather too. Now, when the earlier dolls were, some they were made with leather, and they were made with elk skin or deer skin, and some of the early Navajo dolls were made that way. Now, I do know a Navajo woman who makes dolls today, and her name is Clara Begay, and she lives on the Navajo reservation. And her husband is Ambrose Begay, and I'm friends with him. And he is a painter, and he does very beautiful watercolors. I have one of his watercolors, and they are the most beautifully painted watercolors I have ever seen. The detail is just incredible in his work. And he lives on the reservation and with his wife Clara, and she makes Navajo dolls now, and they do have a website. I don't have it here, but when I post it, I'll post it in the comments so you can check out their artwork. And they do go to the shows, and they sell and stuff at the shows. He also makes like little signs you can put in your kitchen, and like all watercolor. Now the painting that I got, I asked him where. Oh, I said, where do you get all the faces? And he told me he uses his relatives. So I can understand that, because when I paint like that, sometimes I use some of my family too. This is another smaller version of the doll, and she's really, really cute. And she's got the hair tied in the back, but I have seen even smaller than this, and I think I have one or two of them. I just don't have them here right now. I didn't bring out all my dolls because it's just impossible. I do have a very large Native American doll collection because I'm part Native American Blackfoot, and this is a porcelain doll here, and she's a modern Navajo doll. But I would say she was probably made in the 60s, going by her outfit. And her boots are more detailed. Her moccasins they're leather. And she's got her legs wrapping, underpants there. And she's a little bit more detailed. And she's got some jewelry on. Her beads broke. And some of her jewelry fell off. But I got her in the thrift store, but I had to add her to the collection because I had to save her. So now I'm gonna fix the beads and just add some more beads to it. But I hope that you enjoyed my program here. You can I review all kinds of dolls that I collect. I have thousands of different types of dolls. And these are one of my favorites because they're handmade. They're made with love, and uh, it's part of American history, these dolls. Okay, well, thanks for joining in and watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the story of the Navajo dolls. Have a good evening.